Shandemanium Shadow Poo!
Hello, and welcome to the Bronze Age Monsters Shadow Show. This is a show we make every other week for our loyal patrons. This season, we have been talking about Ulysses Bloodstone and his saga starting in Marvel Premiere? Or Marvel Presents. Marvel Presents, and it goes through Rampaging Hulk for 7 issues before it ends abruptly, I hear. So I have not read the final chapter yet. I'm going to. So we thought we'd take a little break from that and talk about Rampaging Hulk 7. Now, Rampaging Hulk 7 did not have a Bloodstone story, but it had a Man-Thing story instead. And this is a unique Man-Thing story in that it is written by Steve Gerber, but with art by Jim Starlin and Bob Wiacek. So I don't know. I mean, I can't remember a Gerber-Starlin pairing before. Can you? Am I just forgetting very obvious ones?
I'm sure we're going to end this recording and then slap our heads separately that when we think of something really obvious, but I cannot recall one, no.
At least, okay, so this is absolutely true. So I don't think we have had their collaboration on the show.
That's fair, yes.
That is fair.
I feel confident in that.
I'm pretty I'm like 90% confident in that, you know. But yeah, so we thought we'd talk about that. It's a very unique story, and talk about that and talk about maybe how that compares with how Bloodstone has been portrayed in Rampaging Hulk. So, yeah.
Yes, and I just want to kind of frame this, where this story occurs in publishing time, because at this point, Man-Thing had been canceled, and he had appeared in he'd been in a couple Monsters Unleashed, 5, 8, and 9. He'd had a twofer with the Hulk in 197 and 198, and then this story happened. So he'd been kind of he'd been doing the Jack Russell thing. His book was done, and he'd just been kind of kept alive by appearing in other people's books a little bit. But so this was I'm sure this is probably the first time Gerber got to write him since Monsters Unleashed, I would guess.
Yeah. And then I think so the second run of Man-Thing hasn't started yet.
No.
I think that starts in the late 70s or maybe around 80.
This reading guide says.
79. Yeah, and I thought a lot of those are Claremont, if I'm correct.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah, I remember reading a few of those. And they're good. They're not bad. It's actually kind of a different take on Man-Thing. I mean, it is, but we'll talk about it when we talk about this issue. But there's this definitely follows a pattern of Man-Thing that we've talked about before. How Man-Thing, a lot of times, is the least important character in the story.
Yeah, he's a device.
But he's been a device since the very beginning, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like, this isn't, yeah. And when that works, it works amazingly, it's so weird. And that is such a Gerber thing to do something so different, to have the title character, just be a framing device, basically, for him to tell these kind of sad, tragic stories of humanity. So, when you think about it, it's a very Gerberian thing.
I'm shocked. Whenever I read a Man-Thing story now, in this day and age, I'm shocked that Disney Plus hasn't picked it up for... It's such a great framing device for good storytelling. Why couldn't this essentially be an anthology Marvel thing on Disney Plus and have a different director come in, different writers, and just kind of have this rotating thing? Because he is just the framing device for good storytelling.
He is, and I feel like that's not out of the realm of possibility, just because of all the goodwill that Ted has now. I mean, everyone fucking loves the character. So I don't know. We want so much to happen in the Marvel Monsterverse, and who knows when that's ever going to happen. But the potential is vast.
Yeah. Although the Ted that we met in the Werewolf by Night special is very different from the Ted of the Gerber run, where He is just an empath with no sentience and is just drawn by emotion. And where he and Jack at the end of are chuckling over some coffee in the morning, and Jack understands his speech. Like, it's a very different character.
Yeah.
But
it is.
You could still work that in anyway. But
yeah, absolutely.
This is also a good bridge episode because Gerber does tie up the Bloodstone saga in the end. So we don't know why, but John Warner did not finish his story that he started.
And we had Gerber last issue, right? So Gerber does 6 and 8.
Oh, did he do the last one? I already forgot.
I already forgot too.
Conspiracy Ascendant?
Did Warner do that?
I thought Warner did that because we were like, where have you been? Like, where's Harlem?
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I think
I was thinking because, Gerber finishes it off.
Yeah, it feels like Gerber batted clean up here on getting the Bloodstone thing done.
Yeah.
So what we're going to be talking about, as Jacob said at the beginning, was a story from Rampaging Hulk number 7, which was published in February of 1978. And so this is listed in the credits of the Rampaging Hulk as Beyond the Great Divide, but the title page calls it Among the Great Divide, and GCD calls it that. So,
yeah,
should we dive in? We have this is a timed experiment here. We're giving ourselves a limit.
Yes.
Okay, you ready?
Yes. Yeah, I am. You want to set us up?
Yes. All right. So let me start this track here. Our assistant.
10-minute review of Among the Great Divide starts now.
Okay, so I thought it'd be easiest to start with kind of just a quick synopsis. So, like many Man-Thing stories, this starts with Man-Thing wandering around the swamps, encountering something. In our case, it starts off with him finding a rotting body out in the swamps, a man's corpse. And then we meet a character, She-Demon, that attacks him. He has a fight with this woman who has pert nipples and very low-riding shorts on, and we get a little sexiness. And then we meet a teenage girl and her mom. They're in a van again. They're camping in the swamp, and we find out that this character has DID. She has several different personalities that manifest, and that's the main kind of twist on the story, is that her different personalities can physically manifest and go out in the world and do things. In modern times, we'd probably be forced to call her a mutant, but they didn't have to do that in the 70s. You could just have fun with stories back then. So Man-Thing is drawn to this the fight between the mom and the teenage daughter. We get a Gerberian full page of text with a beautiful illustration from Starlin explaining her childhood and her trauma, her missing father, the way she's been abused by teachers and other kids, her burgeoning sexuality, her mother repressing her sexuality as she enters adulthood. And then they decide to go on this camping trip. And then she hits her mom with a stick, takes the van again, and drives into Citrusville and goes to the country disco bar. And her characters manifest themselves and interact with some of the locals. And they hightail it out of there. And then one of the dudes from the bar follows her, attacks her in her normal 15-year-old body self. And Man-Thing intervenes and breaks shit up. The alters are all forced back into the Andrea, the teenage girl, and she seeks medical help. And Man-Thing goes back to the swamp and sinks below the waves of the swamp.
That's a great synopsis. So, a couple things. Well, first, let's talk about the DID aspect of it. So, correct me if I'm wrong. So she has, what they used to call multiple personalities, but all of them can gain a corporeal form aside from her. It's not just her.
It seems
can they all? Seems like all of them can manifest at once, kind of. That was the only thing that I was confused about.
So that happened at the end, the big climax. So it felt like the way that Gerber wrote about it, it seemed like that was the first time that happened. Yeah.
Which would be like, oh, that's a mutant power. That's not DID.
Right. But it wasn't clear to me, like, so the first page, which I love, like we can talk about, but when Manny finds that dead guy rotting in the swamp, you see him alive, then you see a shadow of an axe over his face, and then you see his rotting corpse. So my first thoughts, Jacob, were, this is what is Curtis Magazine should fucking be. This is Tales from the Zombie. This is Monsters Unleashed.
Exactly.
Like, we need this. And
No.
then we turn, you know.
Well, yeah, I had the exact same thought, to where it's like, oh, okay, we get a little sleaze. We get a little something, which is using the format that the Curtis magazines were fucking made for.
Yeah.
Which is the first giant difference between this story and the Bloodstone saga. That's the difference between the Bloodstone saga and any other story that has appeared in the Curtis magazines.
Yeah. So that was one thing. So Manny fights the part of Andrea's psyche that is the primal rage. And it's just referred to as the she-demon or the ogress at different times by Gerber's prose in this. It was amazing.
So good and weird.
He fights her and he throws her into a tree, and it would have broken a living thing's back, but she just gets up and scuttles off, and then he grabs her. She starts to burn because she's scared of him. And then once she burns, she just disappears because she is forced reintegrated into Andrea. Once that emotion is subsided, there's no reason for it to be out in the world corporeal anymore. So it just gets sucked back into Andrea. So Gerber's writing here, by the way, another thing where it's like Bloodstone versus this, the fight between her and her mom, when you first meet them and she's out dancing, listening to rock music, and the mom comes out and they're having a bickering, like the nuance where the mom's like, oh, boo-hoo, my husband left me. And she's like, Mom, you always cover your emotions with this bullshit sarcasm. Like, wow, something written for someone over 12.
Yeah, I know. That was the thing that was so comforting and different about this story. And Gerber, obviously I'm not shocked that there's, real
5 minutes remaining.
feeling and pathos in his storytelling. But yeah, like Gerber of this era and a little bit before, I love how you read the book, and as it gets further into it, there's less art and less art. And then and it culminates in this text page that was really cool. It's a text page where the text is like on the sides. And so there is a piece of art in the middle there. It's really, really cool. And I love when Gerber gets to shine in a vehicle that is not dictated by the comics code. And this is just so perfect for him. And I mean, he worked around it with Howard the Duck, obviously, which was, satirical and funny, but also dealt with really heavy shit at the same time. He dealt with heavy shit in Man-Thing when he first started writing that. And, but to see him kind of spread his wings on this, especially, like, this is not early Gerber. Like, Gerber's been writing for a while now. So he's just honed his skill and his storytelling, and that's what's most evident in this issue and was a joy to read.
The other thing besides that text piece about Andrea was he gets away, he pushes it so much, he almost does it again, but cheats it, where there's like 3 panels on the top and then this beautiful panel from Starlin of Manny just sitting in the swamp, like looking all sad, and there's like a bunny rabbit looking at him and a snake coming up and a bird on his shoulder. And there's text all around it talking about the mother and the daughter's relationship and how Man-Thing can't understand a word of it, but the emotions of it are what are drawing him to them. Again, just pushing it, right? It's one big frame with a bunch of text around it. And if his editor had an issue with it, he could still say, it's comics. It's art with words. What's the problem?
Yeah, I know. There's two like portholes kind of panels up top. And then, like you said, that vertical rectangle. Yeah, it's so beautiful. I did like that. I almost thought it was, it's dealing with really heavy shit in the text. But I also thought it was kind of funny. Like, Gerber just has Man-Thing. It's just like, no, sit down for a minute. You don't have to do anything here. like, just chill out, watch this bunny. And so he is. And he's kind of like, he's just slumped down a little bit. And he's like, okay, this is my smoke break.
Yeah. I really liked the bar scene. Gerber has some fun where it says like Citrusville's, again, country western disco bar. And it says where a body
Swinging.
catch a body coming through the rye, slow gin fizz.
Yeah. That was funny. And then it was also funny to where it's this like country bar in the bayou, but it's a swinging singles club also. Like it's singles night, baby.
Yeah. And Citrusville, we've seen to this point, is basically like 2 gas stations and a motel. So it's hilarious that there's like a swinging singles bar in it.
That's packed too. It's just packed with people.
So what I didn't get until the second time that I read it, I mean, I kind of got it, but like it was really concrete the second time, was that dude in the beginning, one of her alters killed him. So the dude in the bar is like, hey, my buddy, whatever was left with the other night. We haven't seen him since. I was like, oh shit. Like, so either she's creating something that's a murderous or she's morphing into it. It was still isn't 100% clear, but I think she's manifesting them.
I think she's manifesting them. I think I mean, from what I understood, second time through, I did get a lot, and it's a little nebulous. He does not, like concrete, be like, this is her power set.
Mm-hmm.
So you're also kind of just like, it seems like she stays, in a tangible form, but also can project an other of hers that can also become tangible.
Yeah.
So, right? So technically there are two tangible beings at once through the story, except at the end when then everything becomes real.
1 minute
So
remaining.
she becomes like the multiple man almost.
Yeah. Like Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was kind of shocking when on the second read through, like, yes, Cersei, the seductress part of her did murder that dude out in the woods, like in the swamp. That's
totally
horrifying.
Did. It's super horrifying.
So yeah, as all Man-Thing stories end, like I said, once Manny has quelled the emotional turmoil that's causing him physical pain,
30 seconds.
he's done. So he just wanders into the swamp and this slowly sinks below the water, and the story ends like all Man-Thing stories have to end. So yeah, we actually did that almost perfectly, didn't we?
Damn, it's like we've been doing this for a while or something.
Yeah. So we'll let her finish her job because she's union, so she has to actually.
Yeah, she is.
9, 8, 7, 6,
Beautiful.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I love.
Okay.
I love that you threw the Ted sound effects in there. It was pretty awesome.
It needed doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Cool. So that was so I mean, I guess final thoughts then. So I just wanted to cap us. I know that you and I could talk about Gerber and Man-Thing in 70s comics for an hour. I didn't want to do an hour. I wanted this to be a nugget. So just final thoughts. Do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, again, first read through, I don't think I grasped a lot of the nuance. It's funny, I think because I was in like this mode of like, this is a Bloodstone story. So I'm like, well, I can read this in like 5 minutes and understand everything. Yeah. And so I think I tried to do that with this. And I was like, whoa, you got to slow down. Because there is, like you said, there's actual nuance and storytelling. And it's for fucking grown-ups. So I'm going to have to like sit down, not have any movie or, music on in the background. I'm going to have to like really sit and take this in. And I always enjoy that experience. And not shockingly, it always takes place when we're reading something of Gerber's, which just shows like what a fucking masterful writer he was. Yeah,
I'm with you. I typically, when we talk about Bloodstone together, I usually start reading the next chapter that night when I'm in bed, like getting ready, trying to fall asleep because I don't sleep well. I'm not a good sleeper. And I usually read the whole thing in one sitting and then come back to it before we talk about it again. This time I had to chunk it out in like 3 chunks. I was kind of tired. I was like, did I miss something? No, it's Gerber. It's good. I know it's good. I'm just tired. And then I realized after the fact, like, oh, you have to pay attention when you read Gerber. You have to give something to it to get something back. So then I read it the second time this morning before we recorded this, and the first time through I thought it was decent. It was a kind of the typical thing, whatever. But I really enjoyed it the second time through a lot more, and I really settled into Gerber's writing and just enjoyed it for what that was. And I mean, the art's just insane. So we haven't talked much about the art, but it's Jim Starlin 70s art. What do you
need to say? Like anyone who listens or watches this show knows about Jim Starlin in the 70s, and there's rarely an equal to him.
Yeah. So, like we said, he was in the Hulk a couple issues before this, and then he was in this story, and then he was in Marvel Team Up 68, and then Marvel 2 and 143. So he kind of had to go back to slumming a bit. It was nice that he stayed in the consciousness of the comics readers until he got that second volume. But he was just kind of bouncing around, just being a guest star and probably not being used particularly well because I think he's like a Ginsu knife for a writer, or you know what I mean? Like he's like Gerber's a chef, and it's a Ginsu knife, and you can get a hack or a student sous chef in there or something, and they can make a mess of it. I think a lot of times Man-Thing comes off as kind of a mess, kind of an odd.
He does.
He's an oddball, kind of jokey character, but when someone who knows what they're doing writes him, can be masterful. A story about a fucking candle can blow my mind.
I know. I think about that story still.
Me too. All the time. The folks were talking about when we were on, the last time we were on Marvel by the Month as guests, we talked about a Man-Thing story about a candle. And Man-Thing, again, is barely even in it. Ted Sallis is in it more than Man-Thing is.
Yeah, weirdly enough. But yeah, it's goddamn great story.
Yeah, it is. Cool. So I really dug this. And again, we speculated last episode of the Shadow Show, like, did this, were people not thinking that Bloodstone wasn't working and wanting to try something else out? Maybe this was that. And if is what happened, I would think that this would be like this is the way we should go. We don't need to do Flash Gordon stuff.
So the only thing, and I know we already talked about this, and this is kind of getting past final thoughts at all, and I should have brought this up, but was this an inventory story?
Oh, that's a good question. I wonder how we'd find that out.
Because I don't know if they would plan, like, I don't know if they're like, okay, well, Bloodstone is going, and I would think maybe, I don't know. Well, it's weird. It's weird that this just is plopped in the middle of a Bloodstone saga, and then it ends the next issue. So I don't know. I couldn't figure out, I couldn't parse the logic of why this was in Rampaging Hulk. If it's an inventory story, it's a hell of an inventory story.
Yeah, when you said that, you kind of blew my mind there, but then made me think, well, but why would he immediately return and wrap up the Bloodstone? Like, I think maybe they were thinking of a rotating, I don't know. That's a great question.
It could be, I think you brought this up that last time, or when we've talked about it, maybe even off air, but you were saying like maybe this was a tryout for maybe Man-Thing becoming the backup. We're at 15. Oh, 15, sorry.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? It's on repeat because I had spooky Halloween sound effects playing for Halloween. Sorry. I'm sorry. What were you saying before we got interrupted?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know if this, because you had mentioned this before, and that was kind of our theory going forward, that this was a tryout to see if Man-Thing would become the backup. He did not become the backup.
Mm-hmm.
Moon Knight became the backup.
Moon Knight became the backup, which was a sophisticated adult story also.
So good.
Yeah, I wonder if one thing we didn't mention, I wanted to, I'm sure you thought the same thing, but when I was reading this, once the DID became apparent, I was like, Sybil. When does Sybil come out? So the book Sybil came out in 73. The TV movie starring Sally Field came out in 76. So,
and there's the three faces of Eve. Is that correct?
Yeah. Was that I know Sybil, at least wasn't Sybil like the book and the TV movie? Weren't those like pretty big cultural, like?
Yeah, popular? They were massive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know, but it is interesting that this is a DID Man-Thing story. And then we go right to the most famous DID character in Marvel history.
Good connection. Interesting. All right, folks. So in case you're not aware, there is a link to a PDF that I made of this story in the show notes. So if you listen to this on Spotify or however you get the Shadow Show, if you're doing the audio, you can just download this and read the story. So, I'm also going to do a quick video version that's just kind of flowing through here and just showing random art. We did do a lot of call outs, so it's just kind of giving you a sampling of some beautiful Jim Starlin stuff and some of the layouts that Jacob and I called out that Gerber called for in this wonderful, strange writing that he does. I'm glad we did that. That was super fun, and just a nice little kind of pause before we wrap up Bloodstone.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think we probably did 16 minutes instead of 10. But that's okay. I'm not shocked, but that's all right. I put the blame on myself. I kept positing theories at the end when I should have just let it lie.
Okay, yeah.
Let things go.
The timer was just to stop, to tell us to stop talking and move to final thoughts. So we it's half.
Okay, all right. Okay, good. All right,
yeah.
It makes me feel a little less guilty.
Yeah, I just don't want to get lost in talking about it. I wanted to move on to final thoughts, so that was all that was for.
Cool.
All right. Cool. So we'll be back next time to talk about Rampaging Hulk number 8 and the Gerber written finale of the Bloodstone saga, where he has the unenviable task of shutting down, closing shop for Ulysses Bloodstone and wrapping up all the loose ends that Warner excruciatingly slowly teased out.
Yeah, what a job Gerber had with that. It's like a everything goes sale.
Yep.
22 pages. Have fun with that.
I think it would be, especially for a person like Gerber, something that would be kind of a fun assignment, though. Like, I can do whatever I want.
Would think so. Anyone else, and they're just like, fuck, this is the worst thing I've ever gotten. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I didn't even think of that. Gerber was probably like, sweet, I can do this. Oh, there's no consequences? This is already canceled? Yes.
Yeah. And so I'm looking forward to talking about that. We're going to have our friend Michael Giacchino is going to come on, talk a bit about the character itself, himself, whatever. It should be a good time. And I'm looking forward to it. So, I guess we do the do.
Yeah, let's do the do. Until next time, hail Satan.
Hail Satan. I don't think Satan likes it when you drink coffee when you toast to him.
I know, I felt bad. I felt weird. Like right after I took that swallow. We won't do that again.
It's too early for a Jubal Ale, so.
It is. It's too early. Yeah. I mean, we could have put some Jack in our coffee, but I don't know. I didn't feel it this morning.
I don't have any bourbon that's less than $100 a bottle, so.
Come on, throw some of that into some Folgers. That'll work, right?
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to think that you drink Folgers. You don't. You drink very good coffee.
I do. But I'm not above Folgers.
Woo!